little bit about why y'all don't trust the spirit boxes and some of the most reliable instances that you can capture and on what devices?
Okay. My favorite is I have a tiny little Olympus. It's a little tape recorder. And that catches, and I have it on all the time. When I start an investigation, that's on the whole time. I don't turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. So even when we're not doing an investigation, I'm going to say when we're walking the property, who knows what you're going to hear? As I said, the drink it. So that is my pure favorite. I love it. And the motion sensors, I absolutely love the motion sensors too, because you can set them up, walk away, and if you have a camera on it, there's nobody in that building. Who knows what you're catching? And my least favorite is the spirit box, and I will allow him to tell you why, because it's all techie.
I definitely agree that the capturing the EVPs with a sound recorder is pretty awesome, because that's the kind of the purest form of capturing energy. And we don't know exactly where it comes from, if it's the audio part, if it's actually a sound, or if it's an electronic phenomena that happens within the device. Just we don't know yet, but it seems to be the most effective way to capture that type of strange, unexplainable event. Definitely the motion recorders are awesome, and I have EM ones that I'm working on that are same basic deal. So we would just set them down there, and then they have little colored lights that would go up as the EM range goes. So I want to get those set up too. Yeah. Spirit box, I do not. Okay, so a spirit box is basically a radio, and you're either going to put it in the AM or the FM range. AM radio is about as close as you can get to actual sound. Like when we hear sound waves, it's this fluctuation of the amplitude or the strength of the sound. So AM is broadcast in a very similar way, but instead of being the wave sent through the air, it's the electromagnetic wave sent through space, through the electromagnetic spectrum. In that range, it's conceivable that if there's some spirit, and if we can make noises when we're alive, then when we're dead and we're just energy, then it kind of makes sense. We may be able to make some kind of energy noise. So on a purely, like the most basic AM radio is an antenna, a diode, and a speaker. There's just not much more to it. So it's conceivable that if you have enough energy, you have the right things, you could pick it up on it. But a spirit box, when you're using a spirit box, you either have to set it to a specific frequency, or you set it to automatically shift between all these different frequencies, and it'll either go up or down all the way to the end, and then it'll start over and go all the way to the end. There's two problems for me with spirit boxes. One of them is that you have at least two problems. One of them is that you have radio stations that are broadcasting. So if you're listening to an AM radio and you hear noise, guess what? It's probably somebody broadcasting something. And if you have it going in between all of these stations, then you hear Billy, or you hear something. You just hear it on the station. So to go and say, that's a spirit talking to me, just seems ridiculous. Now, FM is a very different thing, because instead of the signal being sent in a similar fashion to audio, it's a purely artificial signature. In other words, instead of changing the wave to be basically bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller, what you do with FM is you have the waves are all the same height, but they're either shorter, or they're either farther or closer together, basically, like a slinky. So imagine sending all that stuff as a slinky. So it takes a digital circuit to create that sound, to create that signal.
Anything picked up on the FM is probably not
Right,
something
like just
manipulated.
because you die
Right, 'cause it's
doesn't mean all of a
digital.
sudden you know how to do electronics and all these things. It doesn't turn you into like Einstein or
Right.
something. You're dead.
Yeah.
That makes
So-
sense.
Yeah.
So the chances, so unless there's some magical way that all of a sudden because you're dead, you can interface with a circuit in something and make magic. I mean, it doesn't seem reasonable.
Okay. That makes sense.